Hey everyone, Scratch.mit here. Today we're going to be creating our shark vs fish game. No shoutouts this week as no one commented apart from that one person. Alright, let's get started. So first, we're just going to set everything up. So let's get our sprites and backdrops ready. So, first up, delete the Scratch cap. Then, over here, hover up and choose a sprite. Find shark 2. We'll just rename him to shark. And then also find fish. Now let's get our backdrop. So in the backdrop, hover, choose a backdrop, and then search for underwater 1. Okay. Let's just rename underwater 1 to this. And so we set up. Okay. Now let's just rename the shark and the fish costume so it doesn't get confusing. Like shark 2A, seriously. So we'll just name it default, where it's just swimming around. We'll call this one chomp, as he's about to eat something. And we'll call this one deflation, as he's deflating. Okay, now to the fish. We'll call this Nemo. It is a clownfish, I know. Okay, we'll call it clownfish. I would call it Nemo. Well, not everyone knows who Nemo is. I'll call it Dory. I forgot what type of fish that is. I'll call this big fish. And I'll call this Smirky. And why clownfish? Nemo. Okay, now we have all these funny names. Let's go into the shark sprite and set him up. Alright, so drag a when green flag click block. Go to the looks category and drag a set size to 100% block, and we're going to change that to 40. Now drag a switch costume to, and using this drop down menu change it to default. So that's just setting the size and switching the costume. Then we're going to motion category and drag a point in direction 90, so that points it to the right. Then we're going to drag a go to X, Y, and we're going to change it to 0, 0, so it starts in the middle of the screen. Then we're going to set the rotation style to left, right, which makes it so he can only face left and right. Then after we set him up, so that's what happens, he goes to the middle. Now he starts small because he's going to grow and grow after eating fish, right? But now we want him to move. So we're going to tell the shark that now it's time to move. So in the events category, drag a broadcast message 1. So remember what broadcast do. If you don't remember, check out this video in the top right corner to learn all about it. Okay, so we're gonna name this move. And then when I receive move, now this is a beginner tutorial, so if you are a pro and you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's just for the beginner tutorial. Okay, so we're gonna make it so he forever, so drag a forever from the control category, go to motion, drag a move 10 steps, but change 10 to 1, and then scroll down to find an if on edge bounce. So that block, well, it'll be best to show you. So he's swimming, and then watch what happens when he touches the edge. He bounces off and faces the other direction. So it's gonna keep on doing it. Alright, so that's his movement script. Now let's go to the fish. We'll go back to the shark a bit later. Sorry if I'm progressing a bit fast. Now, before we start, we want lots of fish, right? So we don't want to create one sprite for each fish, like by duplicating it. That will take way too long. What we want is clones. So clones are just copies of the fish, and I'll show you what clones are in a second. So we want the fish to spawn when we press the space bar. So go to the events category and drag a when space key pressed block. Then drag a from the sound category a start sound. We're going to play the pop sound. So let's go to the sound tab, choose a sound, and we're going to find pop. See, a nice pop sound. And using the drop down menu, change it to pop. So now what happens is it just pops. But we want a bit more than that. So go to the looks category. And I'm sorry, we have to actually reset it. So go to the when green flag click block, drag a set size to 30% in the looks category. Well, it's 100 but change it to 30. And then hide. So that just sets the size. Oh yeah, we hid it. Now you may be wondering why we hid it. Well, we don't want the original sprite. We only want the clones to show, right? So we hide the original sprite and then we create clones and clones. That original sprite is like the main guy that calls all the shots, the behind the scenes, the one that you don't really see. So now, after we start sound pop, we're going to create a clone of ourselves. So we can do that by going to the control category and scrolling down to create clone of myself. So that creates a clone of itself. Now you can see this drop down menu, so you can either create a clone of yourself or another sprite. But we want to stick it to myself. Now, what do we do when we're a clone? Well, that's exactly what this block does when I start as a clone. So what we want that to do is make it so it chooses a random fish. So it randomizes it, the color, the shape, type of fish, and even size. Actually, not size. Okay, so when we start as a clone, we want to change the color effect. So go to the looks category and drag a change color effect by 25. Now, if we do 25, it may not be as randomized. But if you go to the operators section, and drag a pick random 1 to 10, place it inside the little circle thingy, oval, change it from 1 to 200. So it's going to completely randomize the color. Now, what we also want to randomize is the type of fish. So go to the looks category and drag a switch costume 2. Now we're also going to get another pick random, and we're going to change it from 1 to 4 because there are 4 costumes. See that? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to go to a random position. So go to the motion category and drag a go to XY. And back to the operators, we're going to drag a pick random 1 to 10 in this one and another one in the Y. So we're going to change the X1 to negative 240 to 240. We chose those numbers because that's from this side of the screen to the other side of the screen. And we're going to change the Y to negative 180 to 180, which is top of the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. Alright, now we're going to show him, or them. So drag a show block. Now look what happens. We're going to save now. Okay. A lot of different types of fish, all different colors. Now if you want, you can tackle the size thing on your own. Just drag a set size 2 and do a pick random. You know what, I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to get a pick random underneath the switch costume 2. This is just for the extra details. So drag it into the oval and change it from 30 to 35. So now I have a bit of size difference. Next, we're going to make it so it's going to keep on swimming, and if it touches a shark, well, you're dead. Alright, so go to the control category and drag a forever block, and then this new block, if then else. So like the if then, but a bit more complex. So it checks for a condition, like let's say touching mouse pointer. If that's true, well, it does the code in here. But if that's not true, it does the code in here. That could be helpful as it gives you a bit more control over your scripts. Alright, so drag that inside, and we're gonna make it so if we're touching the shark. So that means, we're getting eaten. Then we're gonna tell the shark, oh, you better eat this guy. So go to the events category and get a broadcast move. But click the and create a new message. We're gonna call it chomp. So we broadcast chomp. Then in the control category, we're gonna delete that clone. The clone that got touched by the shark, that is. Alright, we're gonna go to the shark later and tell him what to do. But first we're gonna program the else bit. So we want it to keep on casually moving. So go to the motion category, and drag it if on edge bounce. So if we are on the edge, we bounce to the other direction. Then we're going to, in the same category, drag a turn clockwise 15 degrees. So once we hit the edge, we're going to turn clockwise from pick random -2. Oh, better pause that. -2 to 4. So every once in a while we're going to turn that much. Okay, then in the motion category we're going to drag a move 10 steps, but we're going to make it 5. Alright, now let's do that in action. Alright, so we spawn the fish. See, it's a bit more natural. Well, apart from the bit that they go upside down, but these are magical fish. Remember, Nemo you're talking about. Okay, now we're going to make it so the shark actually eats them, not just magically sucks them in, or it's like a magical shield that anything that comes in contact with it automatically disappears. So drag A from the events category when I receive chomp, and we're going to make it so in the looks category we switch the costume chomp. See now why it was better to rename the costumes? We're gonna switch costume to chomp. Then in the sound category we're gonna start sound water drop, but change it to bite. Now we're also gonna go to the control category and drag a repeat 10. So we're gonna make it grow a bit. So in the looks category we're gonna change size by 10, but change 10 to 1. And then switch costume back to default. And last thing, we're going to broadcast move again. So we just keep on moving. Okay, now let's just clean that up and run it. How does that look? Alright, but now I want it so we have the player's a bit more control. So when we press the down arrow key, we're gonna make him deflate. That's why we have the deflation costume, right? So drag a 1 space key pressed, but change space to down arrow. Then in the look category, push the costume deflation. Drag a repeat 40, so repeat 10, and then change it to 40. And go to looks category and then change the size by -1, and then switch costume back to default. And last but not least, we're gonna broadcast move. So after I just clean this up, we are ready to go. So this is our shark vs. food game done. Okay, perfect. Now, if you did enjoy this tutorial, be sure to leave a like, and please consider subscribing. And I'll leave this project link in the description for you to check out. If you need any help, tell me in the description, in the comments below. And next time, we're gonna tackle something a bit more challenging. Just a bit more. It will be an actual Scratch game. Because you might have realized all these other, beginner steps haven't been really that exciting. But next time we're going to be making a shoot 'em up game. Can't wait to see you then. Scratchoria out.